for children. Okay, sorry. And I suppose just as well, you know, most of our children will probably be going through other bodily changes, as in, you know, developing from a child into an adolescence. So this is going to be a lot of change for them. So we're going to look at that. And I suppose, you know, providing an understanding about what actually happens at post-primary and how we as parents can help in supporting our child through these changes. Thanks, Janet. So if we could just maybe, I'm just going to ask you could put this into the chat if you wish, you know, just want you to think about, you know, what are your hopes for your child going into post-primary? What do you hope it's going to, the experience is going to be like for them? Or even if you've got any concerns, what are the main concerns that you have? You know, I'm sure most of us probably think that we're probably concerned that they won't be ready. And, you know, children are quite resilient. And I think it's about acknowledging those concerns and how can we go through them. No one putting anything into the chat? No? Okay. I suppose, you know, just talking about worries and things like that, I suppose it's about us being conscious. We might be worried and we might have lots of concerns, but it's about being, you know, conscious of not transferring our worries or concerns to our child, because, you know, what we're worried about, they might not be worried about it at all. So it's important, I suppose, that we let them experience this transition as it is for them. So, you know, what's going on? There's two ways we can look at this. We can, I'm just looking at the chat here, yeah, make friends, settle in, enjoy, yeah, absolutely. Those are all really, I suppose those are the main way. I'm just going to look at the chat here just for a second, 1 second. Yeah, it's different for all, it is, absolutely. And we'll go through some of those as well. So if you go back a bit, Janice, if you wouldn't mind. Thanks. Really, I suppose what's happening in school, you can look at it two ways, I suppose. You know, it's simply a transition from primary school to secondary school, so it's a change like in any other part of the life, and it's just kind of, you know, and we can just support them about adjusting that. Or we can look at it, you know, not as an event but more as a life skill, so that they're changing schools, but we're also going to have lots of other changes as well. And I suppose if we are there as parents, help them through and manage this change, that not only have we helped them transition from primary to post-primary, we're giving them a skill that will enable them to manage other changes that they're going to come through in their life, because there's going to be lots of changes, you know, and we won't always be around to manage those changes. So if we can teach them how to manage this change well, we can look at it more as a life skill. Thanks, Janet. So, you know, as I mentioned earlier, moving to secondary school happens probably just at the same time as adolescence, you know, and it's important that parents understand what's happening so we can offer the right kind of support to our children. You know, the journey from being age 12 to 18, it can be quite a difficult one as our child grows from being, you know, a dependent child to an independent young adult. So often you might see 2 steps forward and a step back, but understanding what that journey is for them will help us, you know, to make it easier for them. And I think, you know, the changes that we can look at can be divided into sort of 4 distinct areas. You know, physical changes to their bodies, because, you know, young people develop at different times, and speeds can be a concern, that things aren't moving as quickly as they'd like to be. And I think the best thing that you can do around that is to reassure your child that this is normal. I think most of us can appreciate that, you know, adolescence and puberty can sometimes be quite isolating for children, because they might think that they're the only person experiencing this and the only person struggling. So whatever they come to you with, I think it's really important that you can reassure them that this is normal and it's okay. You know, just as small children walk and talk at different stages, so do teenagers develop at different ages, and it's all perfectly normal. You might give examples from your own family. So you might say, you know, Uncle Mike's over 6 feet tall now, but, you know, he was only a small little lad when he was 16, and look at him now, he just spurted up. Things like that, you know, trying to normalize it and put it into context for them. Things like, you know, spots might be a problem. Talk to them about eating the right foods, show them how to clean their skin properly, you know, all of this is quite normal. For a teenager, you know, physical appearance is really, really important. So it's really important that you take any opportunity you can to sort of, you know, support them into feeling good about themselves. And I suppose then their feelings will change. So during adolescence, their feelings could be all over the place. One minute they might be snuggling up to you on the couch, watching a movie. The next minute you're having a row with you. This can be difficult for us as parents to deal with, but it can be really hard for them as well, because they're obviously not sure what's going on. So there could be times where we might just need to hold our tongue a little bit and just give them space. Sometimes they just need to vocalize things to work things out. Their thinking might will also change. They're going from a child to a young person, a young adult. So, but to be an independent young person means that you've had to develop your own opinions. So for up to now, your child probably had the same opinions as you, and they took their direction from you. That might all start to change now. And you know, the safest place for a teenager to check out and develop their own opinions is at home. So this will make for some maybe interesting discussions or serious arguments, but you know, that's okay. It's, you know, you need to really encourage that discussion and debate, and ask them, you know, explain how did they come to a particular an opinion, and help them tease it out, because sometimes they're using you as a testing ground as to, you know, how they're changing their opinions and thinking. Try not to condemn their opinions just because they're not like yours, because they probably won't be like yours. But it's you know, you do absolutely need to sort of put boundaries in and acknowledge what's acceptable behaviour around discussions and things. But it is around sort of teasing out how they've come to that opinion. You know, somebody once said, you know, if you've got a 15-year-old in the house, you'll never need an encyclopedia because they know everything. And then socially, yeah, socially things are going to change, because that'll be probably quite a significant change in your child's life right now. So it's probably, you know, it's up to what friends they have had, and what the new friends they're going to make. So up to now, their friends might have been really local, you know, from families that you know. But now when they go into secondary school, they're going to be mingling with new people, most of whom you probably won't know. So you really do need to chat to them about their classmates, you know, try not to interrogate them. But, you know, if you can at all, meet their friends, you know, if you're giving a lift somewhere, try and, you know, it's just a good way of finding out about them. Ask your children, you know, what are their classmates like? Do they like them? Do they not like them? Why don't they like them? Just encourage that kind of conversation so they can think. It allows them to think, and, you know, think through why they actually like being with somebody or not. So you can move it on there. Thanks, Janet. So the challenges that for our children, you know, the most obvious one is, you know, they're going to come from the top of the pile at the moment in 6th class in primary school. And they're the senior students, the ones everybody looks up to. And now they're going to be, you know, going to probably a much larger school, and being the babies, if you like, you know, and maybe feeling a bit lost in that. So that in itself is quite a big change, you know. They're going to have it's going to be a bigger school. There's going to be, you know, probably a lot more busyness around the corridors and things, and there's going to be lots of teachers. I mean, up to now they've had just one teacher. Now they could have maybe 10. Plus they're going to have lots of ancillary staff, like, you know, school secretary. There could be form teachers. There's going to be school counsellors, chaplain, deputy principal, that kind of thing that they might not have had before. They're going to have lots of subjects. And, you know, whilst they will be probably excited about a lot of the subjects they're going to be learning, they might be excited about, say, doing tech drawing or learning a new language. They might also be a bit worried about, am I going to be able for it? And again, it's about talking to them and reassuring them that also is normal, for them to feel like that. Timetable, they might be worried about the timetable, how they're going to manage the timetable, and how are they going to remember things. So I suppose, you know, it's about, you know, reassuring them that this is normal and that you will be there to try and support them and try and talk things through with them. They might be worried about more homework, the quantity of homework. So you might need to work out, you know, maybe a plan of when they're going to do their homework. Are they going to do it the minute they come in from school? Are they going to get something to eat first? Are they going to have a bit of a break? So, you know, just to tease those things out and let them be part of the discussion about how they're going to manage it, rather than telling them this is what you need to do. They're more likely to engage with it if they're part of the plan. There's probably going to be a longer school day because they're going to primary school. They might have left the house at 8:30 and be back at 3:30. Some of the kids going to secondary school are on a bus at 7 or 7:15 and not back till 5. So a longer day is going to be tough for them at the start. And they will be tired, but I suppose reassures them that, you know, they will get used to it too. And they might be worried about will they make new friends, especially if some of their, you know, their friends from primary are not going with them. And again, it's reassurance. You know, lots of children who go with their original friends from primary school very often still make new friends anyway. And a challenge for children can be our anxiety and how we project that onto them. So I think it's really important for us to note that we of course we're anxious, but try not to let them see that, because it's a challenge they don't need. So you can move the next one on, please. Thanks, Janet. So then we've got challenges for our parents. There are definitely challenges for us. Homework, you know, are we going to be able to manage the homework? Before, we probably sat at the kitchen table and, you know, physically and sat in with them and helped them, and we probably could help. The level of the academic work now ranks up a level, and maybe we're worried that we don't speak French. You know, we don't know, we didn't do technical drawing, but it's not about us being able to help them in that way for homework. It's really about us being supportive of their homework and maybe supportive of their concerns. You don't need, our job is not to teach French or technical drawing. You know, our job is to, you know, it might be that they're struggling and you can maybe say, you seem to be struggling there, you know, and be a little empathetic with them. I don't know much about French, but, you know, can I make you a cup of tea? Can I do anything? You know, maybe can we talk to somebody down the road that might know more? It's about understanding that they're struggling. And we don't always have the solutions, but it's about us understanding their challenges. New friends can be challenging for us as parents because we don't know them and we're worried are they the right friends or whatever. So again, chat through who's in the class, you know, and not waiting until there's an issue, you know, from the very get-go. Tell me about the new people. Are they nice? Why are they nice? Why do you like that? Bullying is a concern for most parents, but there has been really great improvements with the anti-bullying procedures from the Department of Education, and every school will have their anti-bullying sorry, Janet. Every school will have their anti-bullying procedure in place. I think there is lots of there's plenty of anti-bullying training. National Parents Council do one as well. I think that can give you. You can move it on one more, please, Janet. The anti-bullying training for parents, because the information sessions are really good and very, very useful around bullying and also cyberbullying. And I think that can be something that you can really do quite easily. Relationships, I suppose, yeah, you know, boys discovering girls and girls discovering boys and all that kind of thing in first year can be worrying for us as parents. And again, I can't stress enough about, you know, keeping the connection open with your children, keeping that conversation open. And it's not that you're interrogating them. Find places, maybe when you're out for a drive or out for a walk, if you're sitting watching a movie, to just bring up, you know, things and ask them about people that they're going to school with, ask them about their friends, and ask them, just tease things out, because sometimes it can be very useful for them as well to tease it out. Anxiety is another one. And again, as parents, you know, we can't fix everything, but sometimes we just need to listen and need to acknowledge that they are feeling anxious about something. And, you know, and sometimes, like us as adults, we just need to talk things through with another person. And that in itself can help us feel better. Finance might be another thing that you're worried about for in secondary school, and again, it can be costly, and it varies from school to school. But I would say, you know, don't wait till it gets to be unmanageable. Try contact the school and tell them that you're having, you know, difficulties or whatever. Most schools will have something in place to help you or help support. and travel, traveling to and from school can be some adjustment. I think the huge thing is, find a way, whatever way your school welcomes communication, and make that communication early. You can move it on there, Janet, please. I suppose, if we were making suggestions, don't rely on your child to give you all the information. You really do need to be quite proactive from the start to find it out yourself. And it's not in your child's best interest to tell you everything anyway. Try build a network, get to know other parents, and check things out with them. Very often, I didn't go to school here in Ireland, and I used to feel very much left out of, I thought I was the only parent worried about, maybe Irish or different things that I hadn't gone to school here. So I think, meeting up with other parents, and the shock and horror surprise that, other parents are actually worried about the same things that you are, can actually make you feel a lot better. So that's really good idea, is to just try and network with other parents. You should definitely get into the habit of looking at the child's school journal at least once a week. Again, do this from the start. Don't wait till there's an issue and that they might feel challenged then. So just make a habit of doing it once a week. Try to find out the layout of the school before your child goes in. That sometimes the websites are good with that. And if not, maybe ask another student, maybe that might live nearby, someone that to just maybe try and explain the layout or sketch it out for you. Sometimes, if you've got an understanding of that, you can understand maybe your child's anxiety. Get to know the names of the teachers for each different subject. You don't need to know every detail of your child's life, but it's good to know who teaches what, and what's the favourite subjects, and why is it the favourite subject? Why do you like that? Who's the favourite teacher or not, and why is that? What is it they don't like? What's the nicest day? What's your favourite day of the week? It's just about showing interest in their new friends and stuff like that. So make copies of the timetable and put it on the wall, put it up on the fridge or whatever. Highlight the days that extra things are needed. Things like sports gear, the T-square for check drawing, ingredients for home economics. You can remind your child about this, but please don't be doing them for them. It's really about giving them this skill to be independent. You can move it on there, Janet, thanks. Other things then, you can, just by listening to your child don't underestimate how much support that gives. Give them time to talk things through, and don't be all the time trying to find a solution. Sometimes they just need to talk it through, and just being by there, empathize with their concerns. That must be awful for you, rather than, oh, that's trying to find a solution. If they're concerned about something, that must be awful for you. Is there anything we can do? Trying to tease out what they can do for themselves, or if you can do something. Discuss, rules around behaviour and consequences, and that's really important, that they understand, that there has to be boundaries. You can, I suppose it's trying to encourage them to talk about their feelings, and also don't be afraid to express your feelings and your concerns around them and things. But getting them, encouraging them to get involved in activities after school is a really, really good idea. It will help them to make friends in new ways, new situations that are not maybe classroom based, and it helps them to fit in, and it helps them to be a little bit self-sufficient. And it's good for your child to have a balance in their life. If your child has been receiving additional education supports in primary school, so maybe they've had an assessment by the department psychologist, you should inform the secondary school as soon as they've been offered a place, and at least when you inform them, they then can make applications to get additional support for them in secondary school. If you can at all, join the Parents Association. I can't stress that enough. I think that, and it's not necessarily about joining the Parents Association and being on, part of a committee. It's really just, any opportunity that you can get to put your foot over the door of the school, please take that. If there's a meeting going on, if there's a concert, if there's a coffee morning, do your very best to be in the school. It's good for your child to see you in the school, but it's also good for teachers to see your face and get to know you, you know, hopefully there won't ever be an issue. But if there was going to be an issue down the line, if they've seen you and made a relationship with you in a more, you know, pleasant way, it's easier then to have difficult conversations if you've already been into the school and things like that. It is really, really important that you do that. It just makes everything a little bit easier. Familiarize with yourself with the school, the services, their website, things like that. You know, I know this sounds like an awful lot, but it does make things easier. You can move it on there. Thanks, Janet. There's training programs we would offer in National Parents Council. There's a full workshop on transition from preschool to primary, and there's also from primary school to secondary. There's also another one for supporting children's mental health. We do anti-bullying, we do internet safety, and also around parental involvement and PA skills. You can move it on there, Janet, thanks. We also have a really good website, and even though it says primary and early years there, there is still an awful lot of resources there for your child in a more general sense. We've also got web chat on the website, which links into our helpline, and you can move it on there, Janet, and I'll just go to the details on the helpline. So we have a confidential helpline, and please don't feel that because your child's left primary that you can't ring. You absolutely can ring. There's a number there. There's also an email you can get. You can contact us by email or by phone. We've very experienced helpline staff that man the line. You know, sometimes you just want to maybe chat things through, but they're very, very knowledgeable about additional supports and how to deal with and maybe things around communication with the school and things like that. But so please don't be afraid to call or use the web chat or email us if you've got any concerns at all. We're open 5 days a week there. Thank you very much, Janet. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, thanks a million for that. Thanks a million for that, Catherine. That did a really broad and very useful and practical overview of you know, ideas and tips for parents, and really good. But the actually National Parent Council website is an excellent resource as well, and there's a lot of training available for parents who would like it. What I'll do is I'll move on to the next part. And I'm going to ask Claire Garrett, if you're there, Claire, to take over the next part of the presentation, which is the Education Welfare Officer's role and remit, and why regular attendance at school is important. Well, a little bit about TESS. First of all, TESS stands for Tusla Education Support Services, and it is what was formerly known as the Education Welfare Service, which the Education Welfare Officers, the School Completion Programme, and the Homeschool Community Liaison Scheme. And I'm just going to ask Claire to take over this next part of the presentation, if you're there, Claire.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you have it now. Just tell me when you want to move it on. Can you?
No, perfect. I'm ready to go. Thanks.
Okay.
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 You have the slideshow?
Yeah, I can. I have the slideshow. Is it on? Yeah.
No, not yet. No.
Okay. Hang on a second. Hold on a second now. We'll just see. Sorry. Thanks, this one here. Sorry. Can you see that? Is that not resume slideshow?
Not come up.
Okay, hold on a second. I don't know what's happening to me.
Hi. So I'll just follow on from the introduction that Janet gave in relation to TESS and the three strands. That's one of which is the Educational Welfare Service, which is the service that I work for, and I'll talk to you about that. So Janet, if you don't mind moving on to number 3, please. The one above that, number 3. Perfect. So Tusla Education Support Services has a legal remit. So we operate under the Education Welfare Act, which is a piece of legislation that just emphasises that the promotion of school attendance, participation and retention. And so, as we said before, there are 3 strands to TESS, one of which is the Statutory Educational Welfare Service, which I work for, and the other 2 are the Homeschool Community Liaison Scheme and the School Completion Programme, which some of you might be familiar with already if you if your children are coming from DESH schools. So it would be the DESH schools that would have those strands working in them. And the 3 TESS strands work together collaboratively with schools and families and other relevant services to achieve the best educational outcomes for children and young people. So if we move on to the next slide, please, thanks. So the aims of the educational welfare service. So the aim and objective of our services, as I said before, we're a statutory service, and we ensure that every child either attends school regularly or otherwise receives a minimum education to ensure and secure every child's entitlement to education. So working within the service, there's educational welfare officers. Some of you might be familiar with them and some of you might not be, but basically they're assigned to schools. So every school in North Dublin will have an educational welfare officer working with them, and they work with families and children in a child-centred way to school attendance, participation and retention. And we work, as I said, closely with schools, educational support services and other agencies to support school attendance and resolve any attendance issues or problems that might emerge for the benefit of children and families. Sorry, Jan, if you want to go on to the next slide. Some of you may not have had problems with school attendance at all in primary schools, so it's very possible that you haven't come across our service at all, and hopefully everything will run smoothly and things will work out well for all your young people who are moving into this journey, moving into secondary schools. But it is a different environment, as the previous speaker said. There's huge changes ahead for all the young people who are taking that journey. And some things might go well, but some young people might experience a bumpy ride. You know, there's huge changes. And what our service does is we aim to make an early intervention around supporting families and young people if things do start to go wrong around school attendance. And a lot of the time, school attendance problems are the tip of an iceberg. So you probably heard that expression. The child might start refusing to attend school on a particular day, or might be inclined to kind of say, oh, they're sick on a particular day of the week, or whatever it is. And usually that's the tip of the iceberg of a bigger problem that's underneath the surface. And what we do is schools will monitor attendance. They'll be looking at how regularly a young person's attending school. And chronic school attendance. Sorry, I can't see the screen very well here. I'm just going to have to cross-reference on my screen. But chronic school attendance is defined as a young person missing 10% or more of school days. So in secondary school, that's roughly about 2 days a month, 16.5 days a year. So regular attendance is a massive indicator of academic success, and it promotes a sense of belonging and routine and connection for the young person, and promotes their well-being. So it's really important to talk to your child, as was previously said, and support them and spot any early signs. If you notice that they're kind of saying that they're not feeling well on a particular day of the week, or there's possibly something going on there beneath the surface, it could be a problem with a particular subject at school that they're struggling with. It could be a problem with friendship groups. It could also be something a bit more than that. You know, it could be the signs of early signs of anxiety or mental health issues. So it's really important to make sure you keep connected with your young person. Also check that work is given if there are school days that your child is off school, or if there's closures. I mean, we've all been through a horrendous period with COVID and the school closure periods and lockdowns and whatnot. And if we go through something similar, just make sure that schoolwork is being done. It's really important, as was said previously, to keep in touch with the school and to make sure you're connected as well. So the next slide, Janet, thanks. So preparing for school. I don't want to go over points that were made previously, but just a few things that I just wanted to reiterate for you, that it's really important to have those practical sides of preparing for school sorted out. So obviously having the correct uniform in place and the books and the equipment, and having that all prepared in a timely way before school starts. Just going through again that journey to and from school, which might be a very different journey to the one that your child's been used to, and talking to your child about what the school day will be like, how they'll spend their lunch times, asking about friends and which friends are going from primary school to the new school and which friends from outside school will be there as well. You might notice that things might change quite a lot for your young person once they begin secondary school. There can be big shifts in friendship groups, particularly with girls, and there can be a lot of falling out and upset, and just be mindful of that. You know, it can be quite a difficult time for some young people. Just the other thing that's to mention is about school rules and the school's code of behaviour. So normally schools will have that in the journal, or they certainly would have given you a copy of it before school starts. But if they haven't, make sure you have a copy of that policy. It's really important that yourself and your child are familiar with the school rules and that they understand that, because you just want to prevent any difficulties arising through a lack of understanding when your child starts the new school. And then finally, there's the next slide, number 8, please, Janet. It's just about finding out about the school, some common sense stuff, but some things you probably have thought through already, but I'll just go through them again, just in relation to getting familiar with the school, the layout. Everything's going to be very different. There will be some key contacts in the school, that names of whom you've probably been given already, but one important person is going to be that first year head, who's the person who's responsible for the overall well-being of first year students, and they look out for any early signs of your child not settling in or missing school. And it's just important that you know who they are and that you can link in with them if you need to. You should know who the form tutor is if your school has one, and also the homeschool if your school has one. They're important people to get the names of. And find out how your school communicates with children and parents. Many schools will use text messaging and online apps, but be familiar with them so that you can communicate easily with the school. And the very last thing, I just wanted to highlight that message that's been given already, but just to keep in contact with your child's school and spot any early signs of them not settling. Because from the work that we do and the work that educational welfare officers do, we know for sure that it's really important to step in early, and we can stop a small problem from becoming a large one. All right, thank you.
Thanks a million for that, Claire. I'm going to ask Anne-Marie McGovern now. Anne-Marie is the Integrated Services Manager, and she covers the north side up to the north inner city, mostly south side, and she is responsible for the operation of the the Homeschool Community Liaison Scheme, amongst other things, and she's got a keen interest in early years as well. So Anne-Marie, if you want to start there, I hope you can see that scheme. Anne-Marie's going to say a few words about the HSCL scheme.
Great, thanks Janet, and yes, I can see it. Good morning everybody, it's great to be here this morning. So I suppose it's really just kind of following on from what both Claire and Catherine has said, and that key message that Claire made at the end there about keeping in contact. And that's really what the HSCL scheme is about. It's about that link between the home and the school. So you may have come across some homeschool community liaison coordinators in the past in your child's primary school, and you may have already met the homeschool community liaison coordinator in your child's new school as well. So just to say, give you a big quick overview of who they are, how they, what they do, and some examples of the work that they can do with parents as well. So they are teachers. They're teachers from the school that your child will be going to, and they work directly with the parents and the guardians. They don't have a timetable. They're not teaching any subjects. It's a full-time role, so they're always available to parents and guardians within DESH schools. Not every school has a homeschool community liaison coordinator, so you may not have one in your school, but if not, that doesn't mean that there isn't supports available for you. Just to say that at the outset, you know, as Claire said, there will be year heads, there will be form tutors or available. So there will always be someone to contact within the school, but the HSCL coordinators have a specific role and are there full time for parents. The part of the student support team, and every school, whether it's a DESH school or a non-DESH school, has a student support team, and this is made up of the principal, the deputy principals, year heads, special education needs coordinators. It may also include the chaplain, the guidance counsellor, and really it's a very kind of, I suppose, that pastoral well-being nature of children and young people. If there's any kind of emerging needs or anything that families or young people need to help with, that's what the student support team is there. So it's a very making that transition as easy as possible. And homeschool community liaisons are a key part of that, and they can link in. As I say, they're a link between you, the school, and the school community. It can be very daunting, particularly if this is your first time sending a child to secondary school, or it can be very daunting to walk up to the school or to find out who to talk to. So that's where they're a really key person to help you to navigate that and figure that bit out. They're available to speak and meet with you at any time during the school day. They can meet with you in the school or on the school grounds. These are all kind of dependent on COVID guidelines at the moment. They'll always have a mobile phone, work from mobile phone. You can contact them through. They can meet you in the community, and they also do home visits as well. And that can be a really good way away from, you know, school and away from everybody else. Can be a good time to sit down and have a chat about any concerns you have, any questions at all. You know, the other presentations brought up, you know, you might have concern, or you don't know how the timetable works, or how do you access the lockers, or how do you pay for school books, or whatever the case may be. They can answer all those kind of questions. And they support families in lots of different ways, but they particular focus on supporting the incoming, for you as incoming first year families. So they may organise and attend school tours. This hasn't happened in some cases this year. There's been a lot of virtual videos made, or welcome videos of schools, but they can help show you around the school, whether that's virtually or in person. That's obviously been dependent on HSE guidelines this year. They often attend, organise or host parent information talks or coffee mornings. Again, these have been done virtually or in person. So if you do get an invite to these, it's really important to make these links, get contacts. You may remember when your child started in primary school, they loved seeing you there. They loved you being around. They maybe don't love it as much when you're going into secondary school. They don't maybe want to see you. So as Catherine was saying, it's trying to kind of find out how they're getting on in school and making these links through going to different talks or meeting other parents and just having other people to bounce questions off is really, really important. So if you get invited to these, please take it on. And it can be scary in the first time, but you know, everyone's in the same boat. So I'd certainly encourage you to do that. And these events often happen in schools where there isn't a homeschool coordinator as well. They will make phone calls or home visits to introduce themselves, and they're really there just to help your child start in a new school, you know. And transition just isn't just about settling in the first couple of weeks. They may be great for the first couple of weeks, and then the novelty wears off and the weather changes and it gets a bit colder and exams are looming or whatever. So the different questions may come up for you at different times. So feel free to get in touch with them. They might check in with you to see how things are going as well. You may have already got an induction pack to your home or sent home to you as well, with just kind of key information, who the principal are, who the year heads, who their teachers are, the code of behaviour, as Claire mentioned, the parents association that Catherine may have mentioned in the school as well. So lots of key information that's there. They'll provide information on what online platforms your school is using. This has become particularly relevant this year and over the last 18 months due to COVID. So if you're not sure, and they may be using a different platform than what your child was using in primary school, so that they're there to give you that help. And I know a couple of homeschool coordinators have become IT experts over the last 12 months in getting people up and running on MS Teams and Google Classrooms and all that kind of thing. They can help you also with completing forms. Maybe your child has a special educational need, or, you know, moving into secondary school is quite expensive and finances may be difficult. So it can be a way to maybe link in with local community support, such as Vincent de Paul or MAPS, and they will have that information and also help you to navigate that and link into local communities there. You know, maybe you may need help with after schools, or in a minute Sylvia will talk you through the school completion program, and they can also help to link you into school completion program as well, if that's beneficial for your child. So they are a wealth of information and knowledge about what's happening locally. So what I would just say is make sure to don't be afraid to ask the question. They are there to help. And they also run courses for parents. So this can range. We've had some really successful courses this year, you know, kind of like Couch to 5K, walking groups, online cookery courses. But again, you know, as your child is starting out in a new school, they don't know, maybe they're brand new and not many of their friends are going there. You may, as a parent, have lost the connections you had with the parents in your primary school. So this can be a really good way to meet new parents in first year as well, and just to a support network for you as well. So that's some of the supports that are available from School Community Liaison Coordinator. If you don't know if your school has one, they would probably get in touch, but just ask next time you're at the school. And if your school doesn't have a homeschool coordinator, there's still lots of support through year heads, principals, school secretaries that will be able to answer a lot of the questions that you may have. So I'll hand over to Sylvia now, who will take you through the school completion programme. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Anne-Marie. That's a really comprehensive overview there. And I'll hand over now to Sylvia. Sylvia is the SCP coordinator for the Cabra area. She's been with SCP, I think, is it 18 years now? And she would have long experience, and she has a particular research interest in educational disadvantage, and she completed a PhD in the last couple of years on this, and she would have a wealth of knowledge and advice and experience to give. So go on there, Sylvia.
Thanks, Janet. Yeah, good morning, everyone. I will be brief, so we will have time for discussion and for questions. So I hope not to take more than 5 minutes. So School Completion Programme is a targeted multidisciplinary support service that's located in DESH schools. DESH schools are schools that are designated as disadvantaged. And together with homeschool liaison coordinators, we are part of a student support team in those schools where we work. We work directly and mainly with young people who are referred to us, and those young people are students who need additional support to do well in education. We do work occasionally at times with students who are not formally referred to us, but who need additional support for some time in the schools where we work, but mainly with students who are specifically identified to underachieve in school. We provide a range of evidence-based in-school, after-school holiday supports. So, for example, mentoring and coaching of individual students in school, small group support in school, maybe aimed at developing psychosocial skills, after-school special interest groups, study skills, and we also provide holiday supports, including transfer programs, so specific programs that are designed to support a young person to transition to second level school. So our work is around developing skills of young people, such as coping skills, social communication skills, decision-making skills, study skills. So these would be examples of our work. And we advocate on behalf of young people, and together with homeschool liaison coordinators, we link the schools and the community. So in this sense, some people call School Completion Programme kind of social pedagogues. Next slide, Janet, please. And so what is our experience of how students transition to second level school? So the typical concerns, and a lot of them have been mentioned here, so I don't need to repeat really, but key concerns for a lot of students are social concerns around making new friends, maintaining and changing friendships, and Catherine focused on that quite a lot as well. Academic concerns, managing increased work, managing homework, and a range of organizational concerns. So getting to school on time, daily routine, managing lockers, just managing the new environment of the school and the new structure of the day. And so what we have learned, how you as parents can support children in overcoming these concerns. And a lot of that has been said already, but I think a key one is to check in with your child on a daily basis. Do they want to go to school? And Claire Garrett mentioned that some children cite illness in the morning. Maybe they say they are sick more often than they used to. Maybe they stopped enjoying school, they avoid a particular day, or they avoid school. Are there any changes in their behaviors, in their presentation? Maybe there is a change in their diet. They might bring unopened lunch home from school. They may become more withdrawn, maybe less social. They may not want to go out at certain times. And those may be indications that your child is not settling in school. So if you have concerns, discuss with your school student support team early. And there's a range of adults in supporting roles in second level education. Encourage your child to get involved in activities, and encourage your child to ask for help in school. And that includes asking for help on a daily basis if they didn't understand homework, for example, or if they struggle in a particular subject, to ask early for help. And also to find an adult they can trust. And that could be a teacher, it could be an SNA in the school, it could be a member of a student support team, guidance counselor, deputy principal, homeschool liaison coordinators, school completion program staff, and a member of the supporting team. And lastly, have confidence in your child, because in our experience, most children do very well in school. They do settle, they are resilient. Some children need more nurturing, some children may need some coaching, but a majority of the children adapt very well to second level and they do extremely well. So that's from me. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Sylvia. So just as for the last slide, I've just got a selection of resources up there. Really the Tusla hub, tusla.ie/text. There's a lot of frequently asked questions and their answers available there. And there's the National Parents Council website. National Parents Council Post-Primary also have a website. And I know there's a lot of concern for parents with children with special needs. So I'd advise you to also check out the NCSE's website. They actually have quite an exhaustive parent section in that. There's also Parent Line, schooldays.ie, and I've got the North City office, just test.ie, or you can contact me directly at janet.colgan@tusla.ie, and that's the landline is up there as well for the North City office. So I will just stop sharing. Do I? Yeah. I'll just take that down there. Yeah, and I will go back to the main window. So I think it's time I'll throw things open to, I'm just going to check the chat box. Yeah, and I'll email the presentation, Elizabeth, that's no problem. And Okay.
Janet, I'm going to stop
Yeah?
recording now. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Okay, everyone. That brings us to the end of today's webinar. And thanks so much to all our speakers and panel, and to yourself for the excellent interaction and engagement. And we may do a follow-up webinar possibly at the end of October, depending on issues emerging. And all that remains is for me to say goodbye and the very best of luck to everyone for the next academic year. Thanks a million.